Hey guys, today I want you to imagine something very real. You're reaching for your morning coffee. The cup slips a little, but something feels off. Your arm doesn't react the way it should. There's a weird numbness, maybe just in your hand, or maybe your whole arm. A second later, your leg on that same side feels like it's not even yours. You try to stand, and suddenly, gravity feels different. You sit down, tell yourself it's just fatigue, but your smile feels crooked in the mirror. One side of your mouth isn't moving. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, I'd love to know where you're listening from and what time it is. Drop it in the comments. You're looking at one of the most classic and immediate warning signs of stroke: sudden numbness or weakness in the face, arm, or leg, especially on one side of the body. It's not subtle. It doesn't build over hours. It strikes suddenly, decisively, and it often targets one hemisphere of your brain, which then controls the opposite side of your body. That's why your left arm goes limp when the stroke is happening in your brain's right hemisphere. Sometimes it starts so gently that people think they've just slept on it funny. But as minutes pass, the inability to move or feel that limb worsens, or just sits there like a stranger's body part. You might try to shake it off, stand up, move on. Please don't. That delay can cost you your ability to walk, talk, or live independently. And here's a trick, one that emergency doctors teach children. Ask the person to smile. A real smile uses both sides of the face. In a stroke, one side often droops, almost like it forgot how to participate. It's called facial asymmetry, and it's one of the easiest signs to spot in the wild, at a dinner table, in a grocery store, in your parents' living room. Now here's something quirky, but surprisingly useful. Dogs sometimes detect this before we do. There have been cases, documented in ERs, where service dogs bark, pace, or paw at their owners in the moments before or during a stroke. Their senses pick up subtle posture changes, facial tension, or scent differences. We're still learning how, but the takeaway is this. If your dog suddenly won't leave your side and you feel weak or strange, listen. This kind of numbness isn't just inconvenient, it's diagnostic. Doctors in stroke units often look for sudden onset, unilateral weakness as their first red flag. Combine that with the person's age, blood pressure, or diabetes status, and you've got the classic stroke profile. And here's a subtle detail. The weakness can be complete. You can't move at all, or it can be partial, like a heavy tingling fog settled in your limbs. Some patients describe it as walking through water or moving through cement. Either way, your brain is being deprived of oxygen, and every minute counts. So if this ever happens to you, or you witness it, don't debate. Call emergency services immediately. There's a treatment window, sometimes as short as 3 to 4 hours, where doctors can use clot-busting medications. Miss that, and the brain damage could be permanent. You know your body better than anyone. If something feels suddenly wrong, it probably is. Let that instinct speak louder than your pride or your fear of overreacting. Now let's turn to the second signal of stroke. You're mid-conversation, maybe talking about last night's dinner or asking your grandchild about school. And then it happens. Your thoughts are still forming in your head, but your mouth won't cooperate. The words come out wrong, or worse, they don't come out at all. You try again, slower this time. Still, your tongue feels heavy, your sentence jumbled, like someone shuffled the words inside your mouth. The people around you might laugh nervously, assuming you misspoke or stumbled over your words. But inside, panic rises, because you know exactly what you meant to say. This moment is terrifying, and it's often misunderstood. But as a doctor, let me tell you clearly, sudden confusion or trouble speaking is one of the most urgent red flags for stroke. Language is handled by incredibly complex regions in your brain, primarily the left hemisphere, in areas known as Broca's and Wernicke's. These areas not only help you form words but also understand them. A stroke here, even a small one, can scramble your speech, your comprehension, or both. You may still think clearly. You may even know you're making no sense and be trapped behind your own silence. It's called aphasia, and it can be partial or total. Some people speak fluent nonsense. Others can't form a single word. And here's the tricky part. They don't always slur their words. Slurring usually comes from muscle weakness, different from aphasia. This means even a completely alert, coherent-looking person could be having a stroke while fumbling their speech. You have to listen carefully. Now, for a more unexpected symptom, sudden trouble understanding others. You're hearing English, but it sounds distant or strange, like a different dialect. Or you're reading something and it looks like gibberish. This isn't just tiredness or distraction. It could mean the brain's language decoding function is disrupted. Imagine looking at a simple sentence and being unable to comprehend what it means. That's not a glitch. That's neurological chaos. Here's a lesser-known tip. If someone suddenly can't repeat a short sentence after you, like "the dog ran fast," you should worry. In the ER, we sometimes use that kind of test because even a brief, simple sentence can reveal hidden language deficits. If they can't say it back, don't delay. Call emergency help immediately. A quirky side note. Some people experience temporary foreign accent syndrome after a stroke. Yes, it's rare, but real. Their voice returns sounding different, British, Irish, even Scandinavian, despite never having been to those countries. It's not a joke. It's a reflection of how intricately your brain stores the motor programs of speech. The tragedy is that people often dismiss these signs. They chalk them up to fatigue, dehydration, or nerves. And by the time someone realizes it might be a stroke, the critical treatment window is closing. If you ever find yourself thinking clearly but unable to speak, or hear words you know but can't understand them, don't wait. That silence might be your brain's cry for help. You blink. The world shifts. One side of your vision fades, like someone slowly drawing a curtain. Or maybe things split into double, your depth perception collapsing, your balance wobbling. You close your eyes, shake your head, open them again, and something's still not right. Maybe the left half of your field is gone. Maybe it's all black, or washed out, or flickering like a dying bulb. This isn't your eyes failing. It's your brain. Sudden vision problems in one or both eyes is a red flag stroke symptom that too often gets overlooked, brushed off as a tired retina, dry eyes, or even migraine aura. But the truth is, your eyes are just the hardware. The software, the processor that interprets what your eyes see, is deep inside your brain's occipital lobe. And a stroke in this area can distort, delete, or scramble visual input in terrifying ways. Sometimes it's partial. You can see directly in front of you but not to the side. Sometimes you don't even realize you've lost vision until you bump into a door frame or clip a curb. This is called hemianopia, where half of your visual field disappears. You can look someone in the eye and not see their hand waving just off-center. Other times, the brain creates visual hallucinations to fill in the missing pieces. Yes, that happens. People see shapes, faces, or swirling colors, especially in the early stages of a stroke. It's not because they're losing their mind. It's because the visual cortex is misfiring and trying to compensate. There's also a phenomenon called Anton syndrome, where someone is completely blind from a stroke but insists they can see. They describe their surroundings in vivid detail, only none of it is real. Their brain literally invents a world, unaware of the blackout behind their eyes. This sounds strange, but it's a documented neurological condition and a powerful reminder of how much the brain tries to protect us from truth, even in crisis. Here's something practical. If someone suddenly says, "I can't see clearly," or complains of blurred, dim, or tunnel vision, especially when combined with dizziness or weakness, take it seriously. Test their field of view. Ask them to follow your finger or describe an object in the room. If they can't or their eyes can't track smoothly, it's time to act. A quirky but useful trick. Have them look at your face and point to your nose. If they miss by a lot, it could be a sign of spatial neglect, another stroke, warning that ties directly to visual impairment and brainside awareness. Vision loss from stroke isn't always permanent, but the damage can be if help isn't immediate. The brain can rewire and adapt, but only if you get it oxygen fast enough. This is why doctors always include vision problems in stroke symptom posters, even though patients rarely associate eyesight with brain injury. So, if you or someone around you suddenly sees the world differently, literally, don't dismiss it, because your brain might already be running out of time. Now I will talk about the next part. It's dizziness, loss of balance, or coordination. You're walking across the room, maybe heading to answer the door, maybe just fetching your phone, and suddenly the floor tilts. Your feet don't feel like they're where they should be. You reach out instinctively, trying to catch your balance, but the wall rushes towards you instead. You stumble. You grip the edge of a table, or worse, you fall. It's not just clumsiness. It's not low blood sugar or getting up too fast. Sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or coordination is one of the most misunderstood and under-recognized signs of stroke, especially in older adults. We tend to think of strokes as being about speech or limbs, but in reality, your cerebellum and brainstem, two small but crucial brain structures, are often involved in balance. When a stroke hits here, it scrambles your internal gyroscope. You may feel dizzy, lightheaded, or even like the room is spinning, vertigo. Sometimes your hand misses the doorknob, your foot clips the step. Everything feels just a few inches off, but that disorientation can be devastating. And here's the kicker. These types of strokes are easily misdiagnosed, even in ERs. Why? Because the symptoms overlap with inner ear infections, low blood pressure, or even anxiety. But balance-related strokes can be just as deadly, especially if they're cutting off oxygen to the brainstem, which controls vital functions like breathing and heartbeat. Let me give you a practical test. Have someone walk a straight line, heel to toe, arms out. If they can't do it or veer dramatically, especially if this comes on suddenly and without cause, you need to suspect stroke. This is not something that should wear off or be slept off. And there's another clue. Double vision often accompanies dizziness in brainstem strokes. So if the person not only stumbles but also sees two of you, that's not confusion. That's a neurological emergency. A strange but true detail. Some patients describe the feeling as being pulled sideways by a magnet. That's how powerful the miswiring of balance signals can be. One man told me it felt like the room was tilted at 45 degrees and he had to crawl. That's not dramatic. That's stroke reality. Now, for a fringe tip. If someone complains of a sudden inability to coordinate their hands, like failing to button a shirt or spilling water when they never used to, pay close attention. That fine motor coordination is controlled by intricate brain maps. If those signals get disrupted, your brain might not even know where your fingers are anymore. Loss of balance might not seem like a big deal until it's too late. Many people brush it off, especially if there's no pain or paralysis. But in neurology, sudden changes to your sense of motion and control are every bit as urgent as a slurred word or limp arm. Don't let a fall be the first and last warning. If your steps go sideways and you don't know why, call for help. Now let's turn to the final signal of stroke. It's severe headache with no known cause. It starts as a sharp stab, no warning, no buildup, just a bolt of pain that slices through your skull like lightning. You freeze. Maybe reach for your head. Maybe think, this isn't like my usual headaches. And you'd be right. Because a sudden, severe headache with no known cause can be one of the most ominous signs of a stroke, especially hemorrhagic stroke, where a blood vessel has ruptured and is bleeding into your brain. People describe this pain in different ways. Explosive, the worst headache of my life, like my head was going to pop. What unites them is how abrupt it is. Not a slow creep upward like a tension headache. Not the pulsing build of a migraine. This one slams into you. No warning, just boom. And the world changes. In medical terms, this is often called a thunderclap headache. The name says it all. It's loud, fast, and overwhelming. And it's not just uncomfortable. It's dangerous. The bleeding that causes this pain increases pressure inside the skull, and that pressure starts damaging brain tissue within minutes. And here's what's frightening. People often try to sleep it off. They think maybe they're dehydrated, maybe they skipped a meal, maybe it's just stress. But if there's bleeding in your brain, sleep is the worst idea. You might not wake up. If your body gives you a sudden pain that's totally new and absolutely crushing, do not ignore it. Let me share something unusual. In rare cases, a person having this kind of stroke might report a popping sound or sensation in their head, almost like a balloon snapping or something tearing internally. It's not common, but I've heard patients say they knew deep down something ruptured. They were right. And here's another often missed sign that accompanies these headaches: nausea or vomiting without any stomach issue. The brain doesn't like being pushed. When pressure rises, it affects the vomiting center in the brainstem. So if you suddenly feel like throwing up with no digestive reason, especially in the presence of head pain, take it seriously. One quirky yet important observation: pupils that suddenly become uneven. If you glance in the mirror and one pupil looks blown open while the other stays small, and you have a headache like you've never known, that is not cosmetic. That's critical. It means pressure inside your head is rising fast, and it's compressing the nerves that control your eye. And this isn't just an older person's problem. I've seen this happen in people in their 30s, even 20s, especially if they have untreated high blood pressure, vascular abnormalities, or have recently had head trauma. Hemorrhagic stroke doesn't discriminate by age. It's triggered by pressure and rupture. So if your head suddenly feels like it's being torn in two, don't downplay it. It might not be just a headache. It might be the sound of your brain begging for help. Now, take a breath. Let's step back together. That's a lot to absorb. 5 different signs, 5 different ways your body might signal something is deeply wrong. But here's the good news. When caught early, strokes can be treated, reversed even. Lives can be saved. Speech can return. Limbs can move again. Memories can be preserved. The key is recognizing the moment and acting fast. So if your instinct says this isn't normal, listen to it. Don't wait for certainty. Don't wait for the pain to go away. Stroke steals time, and time, in neurology, is everything. Let's slow everything down now. You've just listened to the signs, one by one, layer by layer, and maybe you're seeing them in a loved one. Or maybe you're remembering a moment where one of these signs nearly slipped past. I want you to know, it's okay to feel a bit overwhelmed right now. These aren't just symptoms. They're stories. They're signals that could rewrite someone's life if caught early. Right now, close your eyes for just a second. Picture your mom, your dad, your spouse, your friend. Picture yourself, not in a hospital bed, but in a living room, at the dinner table, laughing, whole. That's what this is really about, preserving the ordinary. Because stroke doesn't always come with sirens. It whispers, limps, slurs, stumbles. But if you know how to listen, if you've trained yourself to see, you can act. You can save. So stay aware. Teach your family the FAST test: face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty, time to call. Write it on your fridge, share this video, start a conversation, and most of all, Keep your heart open to subtle shifts in those around you. Sometimes just asking, "Are you okay?" can unlock the truth. And now, gently, I'll leave you with this final thought. Your brain is powerful, but also fragile. Treat its warnings like you would a fire alarm. Not every beep means danger, but when it does, you'll be glad you didn't ignore it. Hope this video is useful for you. Stay safe, and thank you for listening.